Within 2 years, Harry Maguire became the world's most expensive centre-back, to becoming one of the biggest laughingstocks in the footballing game. Things would get so bad that he was often booed by his own fans on pre-season tours, with his own manager wanting to sell him and stripping him of the captaincy. Maguire, despite all of this, managed to stay stubborn and backed himself to stay at Manchester United. Not too long ago, he was given the option of leaving, going to West Ham United with Scott McTominay, who again was stubborn on making his claim at the club, backing his own ability to get back into the team. Type up Harry Maguire on YouTube and you would find hundreds of online compilations, failed compilations, memeing his many mistakes he made on a football pitch and videos talking about how he declined. I would indeed be one of them. And with all this, when he was inevitably called up to the England national team, many critiques came to Gareth Southgate's way, ignoring in fact that Harry Maguire was one of England's best centre-halves in his time period, with many great performances, and even was in the team of the tournament in Euro 2020. And what has happened today? Well, you don't really hear too much about Harry Maguire. He made a resurgence back into the team last season, playing quite a good amount of games and having some great performances. And in this new season, despite many centre-halves being brought into the club, the likes of Lisandro Martinez and Matthias de Ligt, who did Ten Hag rely upon on a big game away at Aston Villa that could potentially save his job? Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans. And they did indeed keep a clean sheet. The only unfortunate part was that Harry Maguire was indeed injured in that game and he will now be out for a few weeks, but to me that's irrelevant to the topic of this video. Harry Maguire was just a common meme you'd find online and a very often talking point, and now you barely even hear of him, and for me that is massive. And due to his, some may say, stubbornness to prove himself, he has been celebrated by the Manchester United faithful home and away, chanting his name at several moments of last season. So despite being booed by his own fans on pre-season tours, mocked by Arsenal, Crystal Palace and Scotland supporters during last campaign, and even jeered by the England fans as well, he stayed quiet. And it takes a lot, and I mean a lot, of mental, resilient, this attitude, personality to do that. So in today's video, I want to give Harry Maguire his flowers. As someone that became a very common talking point for multiple months and even years on these platforms, I want to give him the credit that he does deserve. So comment down below your thoughts about Harry Maguire, his low parts, and how you think of him now. He is still 31 and he has not been called up to the England team for a while, and now with Southgate gone, you would imagine that he may not be called up for some time. However, never say never. So like, subscribe, and Vizeh Designs for the best football prints, all made by myself. Use code Halloween for 17% off all items. And let's go. In 2023, West Ham wanted Harry Maguire, with Manchester United accepting a £30 million offer, which was of course a big loss considering he was bought in for £80 million from Leicester City in 2019. Maguire was seen as surplus to requirements, and he was not in Ten Hag's plans whatsoever at that stage. However, Maguire was stubborn and wanted to control his own future, meaning that if he went to West Ham, then he believed that his chance of playing at the top level again for one of the top clubs would be most likely gone, knowing that West Ham and that kind of 7th to 10th tier bracket may be now his new level. You've seen this story many times. When Danny Ings left Liverpool to go to Southampton, he scored 22 goals in an incredible campaign back in 1920 for Southampton, and despite scoring 22 goals in one campaign, that move to a top club never shown up again, and instead he went to Aston Villa and then went to West Ham and would never get that chance again. And it has been proven that if you believe that you have got what it takes, being stubborn, trying to prove yourself, can win the fans back over. Luke Shaw, during his time under Jose Mourinho was always linked to being sold away in the window and seen as surplus to requirements and not part of the plan. However, he stayed resilient and believed that he was good enough, and of course has been a big part of United for many years now. Unfortunately, not many these days due to his awful injury record. Rafael Varane, Lisandro Martinez, Matheus de Ligt, a few centre-halves have come through the door, and Harry Maguire usually finds his way back into the 11, just like how he did last week. Harry Maguire last season, despite being seen as surplus to requirements, started 18 games throughout the campaign, with a pretty good rating on SofaScore for a sample of 7.13. His main key trait to Harry Maguire's game is of course aerial duels, and passing out from the back is actually not that bad as what many people like to make out. Yes, we cannot ignore that he has had some pretty bad times, and the compilations was indeed not AI, and he did make many mistakes a few years back. Potentially the avalanche of the critique online partnered with the expectancy of what you want from a captain, and the fact that he's now the captain of Manchester United as well to go with that. I think that it did get to him, and I don't think that's too much of a surprise. So when he was stripped of the captaincy and was gave way to Bruno Fernandes, it all kind of felt like he would inevitably be pushed out the door, which they did try, but of course he stayed. Last season, he played about half the games of the campaign, and he was very good. Not perfect, not exceptional, but a good centre-half, and someone that you can rely on at this level. One of the best performances last campaign for Harry Maguire was indeed against Aston Villa, with some marvellous stats in that game, completing more passes than any United player, being a key part out the back, winning all 7 of his aerial duels, all of them, didn't lose a single aerial duel, and won 11 of his 12 duels overall. Same with another great performance against Sheffield United away, with the fans singing his name. And of course there are his limitations. He's not particularly a very mobile player by any means. He's a perfect centre-half in a prime Burnley 11. Genuinely, he would be Sean Dyche's wet dream, but maybe that's completely rude to say, considering that Pep Guardiola did indeed come out saying that after Vincent Kompany left the club, he was looking at Harry Maguire being his first choice to replace him. And to kind of put into perspective how much Harry Maguire was targeted online, in terms of back in 2023, 2022, when he was at the kind of the peak of this kind of meme like era that he had, in terms of every single Premier League player that received the most abusive tweets online, he was second behind Cristiano Ronaldo with 8,954 tweets. If you're curious, Ronaldo had 12,500. 8 of those 10 most abused players, you may not be surprised, were Manchester United players. That features Marcus Rashford, Bruno Fernandes, Fred, Jesse Lingard, Paul Pogba, and David De Gea. Maguire was seen as like a lovable meme even before he joined United. Back in the 2018 World Cup, he had the iconic photo when he was chatting up a lass after a game, which people made a lot of jokes about, and had the term Slabhead being used as his new nickname now, which I think is potentially an insult, but he may have a bit of a big head. And in that 2018 World Cup, that's where he got the most attention. That was why United spent £80 million on him in the first place. That is why he was the world record transfer for a defender at the time. I mean, he was powerful in the air, he had a good tackle on him, and his performances in the back three suggested that he could pick out a pretty good pass as well. Another part that did not help him out was of course the case of him over at Mykonos in Greece, which he was actually in a bit of bother with the police. And this experience appeared to really impact his performances in that 2020-21 season. It was not good. Very bad moments, particularly in the games against Crystal Palace and Tottenham Hotspur. Harry Maguire was always seen as someone very fondly liked by people at the club, with his great work on and off the pitch for many charity works as well. And it has always become a bit of more of a uncomfortable watch by people that actively are within the club, seeing his performances at this time period. However, these days it seems to be a completely different story, and now you barely even hear his name said much at all online, which is a big change compared to what it used to be not too long ago. Harry Maguire is of course now injured for a couple of weeks, unfortunately. However, you'd imagine that by the time he comes back, he could maybe get a place back into the team again. No matter what happens and who they bring in, Harry Maguire is always a capable and reliant centre-half for Manchester United. And that's something that he's fought for quite a long time now. And I'm happy that he's now got that moment again. So, comment down below your thoughts on Harry Maguire. And do you think he will get his new contract at United, or will he move on? He is now 31, so he is now 31, which is not old for a centre-half. Maybe another 3 years or so he can still have at a top level. But tell me what you guys think. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. See ya.